hugely important, hugely important. All of the time that we had to rethink on brand, and either it be Albert Heijn, we went back to Mr. Albert Heijn, who lived at the time, and we went back and discussed with him, and your team was there present. What was it? What made the engine tick back in the 1950s, back in the 1960s? So we discussed at Albert Heijn, but also at HEMA. We went back to very old management members who were not there at the office anymore, but who really made the format very successful back in the 60s, back in the 70s, back in the 80s, to discuss what was this very specific and unique attribute which made HEMA back at the time already fly. And we did the same at Action, by the way, again. So at Action, we didn't redefine everything. We didn't redesign everything. And by the way, also not with HEMA. But we always went back to a very early point, maybe 20, 40 years earlier. And from that point, as Steve Jobs said, you need to connect the dots, but you can't do that if you don't look backwards. As these are brands, in this example, Albert Heijn, HEMA, and Action, these are brands like being they're in the marketplace for many, many years. And it's a sort of idea or concept that I would think that the people who really started this back in those days, they've built the new DNA of that format. And the idea would be, times are changing, customers have new perceptions and new ideas and new preferences, there's new competition, everything is new, but it's like your own family and my family. There's always something here and now which connects us to the start of the Action example back in 1995 when the format was invented. And the other idea is, you cannot think about strategy and going forward if you're unaware of that. You should be very, very aware of why in Action in 1995 and Rituals in 2000 and HEMA in 1928. What was it that made the founders invent this format? And if you are very aware of that, it doesn't need to say that you should duplicate or that it should still be there, but you should be aware of what happened back in the time. I'm very convinced about that. I'm very convinced if you go to strong brands, IKEA, Apple, maybe Walmart, it's not a Harvard Business Review case, but I'm quite convinced that those brands which still know where they came from and know why they were successful back in the days and know why they were not successful back in the days, if these ideas and concepts are inherited and they're coming in the heritage towards future, they will make the format stronger. I'm convinced about that. I'm an ambassador of continuous evolution. And that's already a very, very difficult scheme for most leaders because, hey, this means every 3 or 2 or 4 years you need, on specific strategic components, you need to reinvent continuously. And that's already a discussion. I wouldn't see too many brand revolution cases. It might be necessary if you have already a strong market share or brand awareness position, but you've seen it deteriorating very, very fast. Let's say in 1, 2, or 3 years, you're losing critical mass, you're losing brand market share. Maybe then in such kinds of cases, a revolution could be the best thing to happen, but that's a more it's more that's not a regular case. Now not look to the brand and into identity, but look more inwards toward organization structures and processes and roles, etc., and how we would manage the business, I probably would think the same counts for organizations. So a complete reset, specifically for bigger organization, but it might also be for average or smaller organization. A complete reset of structures, processes, concepts, teams, roles. I would be very not in favor. But then again, so the same counts. That that doesn't need to say that if you're not pro of a revolution, that it doesn't need to say that I'm not in favor of a revolution. You should continuously evolve your organization, add new roles, maybe shift specific responsibilities from one team to another, add new concepts, add new templates, add new technology. So I'll summarize. I really think that an organizational revolution could be very, very harmful. I've seen not so much examples in my life and not read about it in the business press. But then again, this is not a recipe that we need to stick to this specific organization structure and processes and rules, etc. As with a brand, you need to evolve it all the way, because new innovations or new experiences will happen, and you will say, would say as a manager or as a leader, hey, we need to fix that in our own organization. But if you say organizational revolution, it almost sounds as a recipe for disaster.